you don't have to go back that far to hear that being the main thing. Oh, these are BS jobs or dead-end jobs, go-nowhere jobs. I don't believe any job is a dead-end job. Hey there, friends, fans, and foes of Dad Saves America. John Popola here, and I thought I'd take this Friday to talk about work, and actually to lay out the silver lining of our latest political silliness. But let's get right to it, shall we?
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Sir?
My first day at McDonald's. I'm looking for a job.
Hello, President Trump. I'm Derek Jackman Tony. I'm the owner.
Oh, that's a good owner. Must be a wealthy guy, huh? Thank you very much. Well, I'm looking for a job, and I've always wanted to work at McDonald's.
I'm looking for a job, and I've always wanted to work at McDonald's. I think these are the takes during the production of The Apprentice that probably got cut.
But I never did. I'm running against somebody that said she did, but it turned out to be a totally phony story. So if you don't mind, I want to work the French fry counter.
Absolutely.
Okay, how much are you paying me?
How much are you paying?
Hello, everybody.
So, yep, President Trump working at McDonald's. I mean, he goes right at his opponent right from the start. It's like, we know what you're doing, but yeah, you got to say it. But, you know, the best part is in the back of the house.
I love McDonald's. I love jobs. I like to see good jobs. And I think it's inappropriate when somebody puts down all over the place that she worked at McDonald's. It was a big part of her resume that she worked at McDonald's, how tough a job it was. She specifically worked at the French fry, where they make the French fries, and she talked about the heat. It was so tough. She never worked at McDonald's. McDonald's just confirmed that again, by the way.
I actually don't think McDonald's actually confirmed anything. In fact, the way these work is that the corporate office doesn't really know. I don't think anybody's keeping track of who worked at McDonald's 30 years ago, 20 years ago. But that's not even really the point.
She never worked at McDonald's. In other words, she's lying Kamala. All right.
Very good.
Grab one while it's really hot. See if you can touch that sucker. I don't think so.
Then we're going to bring that basket.
Open it up. Keep it tight. Never touched by a human hand. Nice and clean. Of course, my hands are nice and clean. I love salt. Wait a minute, I spilled some. I'm very superstitious. Now it's over the left shoulder. Now I'm okay. Let's go. Oh, I see. Now I'm going to see that. Oh, that's your customer out there.
This is the thing about Trump. It's like, this is actually like kind of a nice little moment, but it's got to be the whole Kamala's a liar. It kind of spoils an otherwise sort of playful photo op for the campaign.
We're out there.
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty good. Okay, let's say. You believe this? Look at this guy. He's a MAGA guy all the way.
Okay, so for his first order, yup.
Well, that's a good-looking group. Hello, everybody. This is not a normal situation, is it, huh?
That sums it up. This is not a normal situation. This isn't the first time former President Trump has, teamed up with McDonald's, shall we say.
It's amazing. A big and tasty for just $1? How do you do it? What's your secret?
It's the kind of comedic beats that don't happen on TV anymore, or when they do, you just cringe. Even those of us who used to make commercials like this. So let's get to the other side of the political aisle and hear what President Trump's opponent has to say.
And I want to just ask you about a little job and a big job. Okay. The first one, just a fact check. Okay. Because your opponent
there is
almost
no little
every
job.
day. Okay.
There's no such thing as a little job.
Okay, fair.
This gets to actually the thing that I think is actually great about what's happened this week. It's not the barbs back and forth. That's fine. if you're still undecided about the election, I don't know who you are. I've never met anyone that would get to this point and still not be sure with the choice they face. But one silver lining in our otherwise cloudy American politics is this, that both sides of the political aisle are celebrating work, including entry-level work at a job like McDonald's. I think this is a step in the right direction. Whether it's disingenuous or not, I don't even care. I like the rhetoric.
Because your opponent almost every day seems to be talking about this. So I just want to ask you yes or no. At any point in your life, have you served 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, working at a McDonald's? Yes or no? That's it.
I have.
Okay. Now the other job.
But it was not a small job. Like, I did the fries. I mean,
They both can induce cringe in different ways. That's for sure. So I leave it to you to decide which one makes your back stiffen more. But it is a good thing that celebrating even the first rung on the economic ladder, so to speak, is happening. Instead of the rhetoric that I remember not that long ago, where we were being told that these kinds of jobs are dead-end jobs. You don't have to go back that far to hear that being the main thing. Oh, these are BS jobs or dead-end jobs, go-nowhere jobs. I don't believe any job is a dead-end job. Every job offers you an opportunity to get better as a person, to earn some money, but to learn skills that unfortunately our school system doesn't teach. You know, the funny thing is when I watch these clips, I can't step away from the fact that one of my best jobs during college was actually waiting tables at Trump Marina in Atlantic City, where I would actually see Donald Trump sometimes walk past the casino floor. And when I say best jobs, I mean, in some ways, it was the worst job. The first phase of that job was working the night shift, where I had to, for the first part of my summer, shift my schedule to work through the night because it was a 24-hour restaurant, and then prove that I was actually capable of serving during the day. So it was like a structural hazing that sucked. It sucked. It sucked to have to work at night and then get home when the sun was coming up and go to bed for a summer job. But then I survived it. And that taught me that I could do that. And that was like such a powerful lesson. And it's just one example of the kind of lessons you get when you do any job, but especially actually service jobs. And I want to come back to this because I think that we underrate how important the skills and the habits and the foundation for your future service jobs can offer you. I frankly wish that everyone would at least spend a little time waiting tables, a job that is not easy to do well in a direct interaction with customers. You learn a lot about what it takes to make other people happy in order to make a living doing these kinds of jobs, working at McDonald's, working at restaurants, working in the service industry in general, being of service to others. But I think the lack of this kind of work being done by our kids is a problem. Getting a summer job has actually been on a serious decline in recent decades. Far fewer kids today are actually getting summer jobs during high school and college than they used to. And I think combining that with the kinds of problems that I talk about on this channel all the time with our education system has given rise to, frankly, some pathological behavior. And we hear all about this. And there's a great clip actually from Patrick Bet-David that I want to play just because I think he brought together a lot of the recent data that is worth talking about.
New statistics. Do you know what % of Gen Z workers claim they experience burnout at work?
I get scheduled for 25 hours a week. I'm literally about to quit.
Not 20%, not 40%, not 80%, not 90%. 98% of you experience burnout.
Every single day, go and work somewhere and do that 5 times a week?
How? You're in your early 20s. Watch this. 23% face unmanageable stress and 48% feel drained. According to a Cigna survey, Gen Z is the most stressed generation of all time. And by the way, According to 1,000 leaders that are hiring people out there, watch what they said. This is employers talking about Gen Zers. 6 in 10 employers reporting firing recent Gen Z college graduates within months of hiring them. 1 in 7 employers indicated they may refrain from hiring new graduates next year's unsatisfactory performance. 75% of companies said some or all of their Gen Z hires were unsatisfactory. 50% reported that Gen Z workers showed a lack of motivation, and 39% of Gen Zs lacked communication skills. 46% noted a lack of professionalism. Most important data I want to give you here today. You know what it is? U.S. full-time workforce by generation. Gen Z, you officially passed baby boomers. There's officially more Gen Z workers in America than baby boomers, because baby boomers are going like this, Gen Z is going like this.
You know, I'm Gen X, the forgotten generation. It's just boomers, millennials, and Gen Z. Me and Winona Ryder have been lost to history. But we've all heard this, right? And as an employer, I have seen some of these problems firsthand, but I am not here to beat up on Gen Z. In fact, let me just first say that, you know, the organization I run, of which Dad Saves America is one of several projects, is actually filled with a bunch of Gen Zers. And you know what? They're pretty awesome. And that is on purpose. And that is the trick. The trick for all of you looking for work is that while these stats are true, they are your competition. And so we as parents and you as young professionals or people who are getting out of school and looking to start to build your career, I think the best thing you can do is look at some of the deterioration of our society as a golden opportunity to stand out. And that's what I wanted to do today, is actually talk about how even in jobs like McDonald's, and even with, especially frankly, with jobs like working at McDonald's, or even in the now distant past, waiting tables at Trump Marina, you can set yourself apart and change the kind of person you are in the process. I think we need to cut Gen Z a little more slack. That's partly because we've cut them too much slack raising them. Work is stressful, and sometimes it sucks. And sometimes jobs are repetitive. Sometimes we have managers that are boorish and don't know what they're doing, or are too hard on us and are unreasonable. The thing that's changed, and yes, there has been a culture shift, there has been an expectation shift, but the biggest thing that's changed are these friggin' things. I'm not even talking about the mental health breakdown that comes about from, well, being on these things all the time. No, I'm talking about the fact that these things in our pockets let us broadcast our worst moments to the world. And if we could send these back in time to Gen X or the boomers, when we were working difficult, sometimes boring and monotonous entry-level jobs, you think there wouldn't be millions of people complaining about the grind of a 9-to-5? Of course there would be. So I think we are now being bombarded with messages on our screens that used to be things that we just said to ourselves or to our friends on our lunch break. And I think we need to recognize that. Now, with that being said, there has been a breakdown that has taken place. And I think that that is partly the result of the failure to start doing these jobs earlier. See, working at McDonald's, waiting tables, these teach you skills that I think set you up to succeed in life when you get hopefully bigger and better jobs. These are meant to be the entry level. Entry at the ground floor, just getting started. You barely know how to work, and you are going to learn how to work in these jobs. That's why I'm happy both presidential candidates are sort of offhandedly celebrating working at McDonald's, because it's good. Because we should throw our kids into these jobs as early as we could. In fact, I wish we could start earlier than the law allows. I've made other videos about why I think child labor is good. This is why. Now, what is it that you learn? Well, let's start with the simple things, especially in the service sector. You learn how to look people in the eye, how to be gracious to people who are not being gracious in return. Just the act of having to work in mixed company in a hot and stressful environment with lots of different personalities, and being able to keep your cool and have a certain amount of professionalism and stoicism, that is really important, because you know what? It's hard to work with other people. It just is. We're complicated messes, all of us. We have our good days and our bad. And sometimes my bad day and your bad day are happening on the same day. And we have to be able to deal with that. That's part of being a professional and being an adult. And that's not what you learn in school. You don't, because you're sitting there in class being yelled at by the authority figure. But most jobs don't have that level of oversight. You are given the thing to do and you're supposed to try to get it done and work in a team. That's super important. Now, some of the other things that you learn, frankly, are straightforward. Being punctual, being tidy, having hygiene, all good things. This is a baseline that needs to get reestablished. And frankly, working at McDonald's is a better way to do it than most. Now, where do you go from here? If you have a basic level of grit, if you're able to get yourself up and get to work on time consistently, if you're able to show up with a smile even when you're maybe a little hungover, or maybe just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or have something personal happening that's really, really difficult, learning that you can do those things and practicing them is really, really good. And we should get our kids doing that as soon as possible. Those stats about how difficult it is to hire Gen Z. Well, what I've learned over the years of being an employer, because I've been a manager for, 20 years, and an entrepreneur since 2011, hiring people, sometimes having to fire people. One of the things I realized is the kinds of skills that you learn when you get to be employee of the month at a place like McDonald's are even in more complex jobs still the most important things I care about. I've had fresh out of school young people, when presented with the opportunity to ask questions about a job opportunity, ask about our paid time off. What is our PTO policy? The answer to that question is always going to be, you're not going to be here to find out. It's that simple. You're in the job interview and you're asking me, when am I going to get paid not to work? This is not how this works. This is not what working is. Working is creating value for your employer, and specifically not even for your employer, but for your employer's customers. That's what it is. That's what jobs are. If you don't like it, find a way to acquire a trust fund. But if you're like most of us and you need to work to live, you're going to have to learn that creating value for other people is the way you do that. And the better you get at that, the more money you're going to make. It's that simple. I know this sounds like Grandpop saves America type of advice, but the fact of the matter is that we need more of that now than ever. And so I think that that's a really important thing for us to focus on, and for us to not just tell our kids, but give them the experience of learning in reality. That's what working at a place like McDonald's does. And that's also why attempting to turn every job opportunity into something that will or must pay a living wage is a mistake. We need entry points to learning what it means to create value for others and work. Those are going to be low-paying jobs, and we need them. Pricing people out of that, making it so that no one's willing to take a risk on somebody who doesn't have the skills, is a problem. You don't just need to look at some of these opportunities as a stepping stone to something else altogether, although in many cases they are, right? Most people that are working at a McDonald's, they are going to cycle through. These businesses have very high turnover rates. They are often young people, maybe working their way through school or trying to build up to the next phase of their life. But some are going to end up being like the guy that Trump introduced himself to when he walked into the building. They're going to end up being a manager and then maybe even a franchisee or owner. As it turns out, my father-in-law is a Burger King franchisee. So I've actually spent the past 20 years, because I'm coming up on my 20th wedding anniversary, celebrating our family at the Burger King Franchise Association. In fact, it's where I met my future mother-in-law for the first time, was at a Burger King Franchise Association gathering. They called it Celebration. And so I have spent a lot of time actually with these people who have built these franchise businesses. Many of them immigrants, many of them coming from working class backgrounds, some of them working their way up from inside the store. And that's the opportunity we all face, especially young people who are looking at these jobs. All of those problems that Patrick Bet-David was talking about, all of those failures to launch, you can look at that one of two ways. You can look at that as the collapse of Western civilization here in America, which I must admit I sometimes feel like it is. But you can also look at it as your opportunity to shine, your opportunity to stand out. And it's never been easier to stand out on some of this front than it is right now. And so bravo to our otherwise mostly disgusting, lying political class for accidentally celebrating something worthwhile. Anyway, that's my fatherly advice for this Friday. But let me know what you think. Have you worked in these jobs? Let me know in the comments. Did you start off in one of these jobs and now you're running the place? I'd love to hear that too. And most of all, I hope you have a great weekend.